to grey, and I feel like I'm losing love again. I don't know how I'm here. I could feel your heartbeat. I could feel it somewhere you're looking down. I could feel your heartbeat. I could feel it somewhere you're looking down. 'Cause it's you I'm loving, and it's you that I wanna breathe. And it's you I'm loving, and it's you that I wanna need.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Vertex Stock Car Cup and Watkins Glen, an absolute gem on the international circuit and on the American circuit as well. And, well, we're here for the 8th and penultimate round of the championship. It's bound to be a very important evening for a lot of these guys. I'm your host this evening, Chaz Draycott, and alongside me once again, and I must also extend my thanks to him last week as well, the incredible Chris Dawes joins me in the box again. Chris, how are we doing, mate?
No, I'm going silent and leaving you to it, mate.
Smashing. Well, that's the old Chaz trick.
I'm good, mate. I'm good. Good to have you back, buddy. It was flying by the seat of the pants, and it's good to have you back, mate. You've been flat out making sure that this is all good. And what, as you say, what a circuit to do it. I mean, I had a crack around it the other day. And I noticed we're doing the short circuit. Actually, I did mean to ask that whether it was the long one. I assumed it was the long one, but judging from that picture, we're not doing the boot. Is that right?
Yes, we have I believe it's called the Cup layout, as you can see on the screen there. They do the bus stop before the carousel, so there's going to be a lot of interesting moments going into there, I'm sure. But these guys will have a hell of a lot of fun around here. These Xfinity cars around Watkins Glen are so much fun. Get the rear end out, get the power down, drift it around all you want, and it's amazing.
It's so hard, though, isn't it? I mean, I was on Project Cars 2 last night, having a crack around Watkins Glen in a Ferrari 488, and that was hard enough because it's massively undulating, isn't it? I mean, there's parts of it, several parts of it, that I really thought I was at Spa with the level of undulation. I mean, heading up the S's is like Eau Rouge, isn't it, pretty much?
Oh,
and then you got the inner loop, as it's called, which, as you rightly say, I identify it as the bus stop because it's just like a bus stop. And but you can actually get some serious welly coming out of it as well, though, can't you?
Oh yeah, it's a very underestimated track a lot of the time. There is a big climb up the S's. There's a lot of camber on a lot of the corners as well. I mean, the carousel and the second to last corner, as we see Marcel Freinzehner going around it now. We'll actually go on board with Marcel Freinzehner. And sorry, go on.
Talking about, sorry mate, I was going to say is that another, you talk about the camber, when you come out of the bus stop or the inner loop, and then you go through the outer loop, the long right-hander, which will be even longer because we're doubling back onto the to the shorter circuit. That, from how I experienced it, that is a negative camber that's like trying to kick you to the outside, and yet it's sort of wide enough that it just tempts you to feed in that power. But if you do it too much with the negative camber, it will just spit you off into the scenery. Yeah,
that's it. You have to be so fine with all of your adjustments. You can see Freinzehner there. The car looks very twitchy going up the hill onto the brakes into the bus stop. It's so hard to get the car slowed down enough there and still carry the speed. Careful not to light up the rears over the curbs. The carousel, another one where mid-corner adjustments on the brakes and the throttle just to pitch it in. Oh, so important. Don't be too eager on the exit again. You can hear him just get on the throttle. The car wobbles around like mad. And power on all the way down to the second to last corner. We'll give you the gaps on the left hand side as well, everybody. Just let me take this moment as well, just as we see Marcel finish his lap, to apologise for my issues last week. I have since spent a small fortune on building a brand new PC to make sure that we can do all this, and it is an absolute gem. Seems like it's going well so far, and someone that looks like he's going well so far is Aaron Smith, who is top of the pile, 113.661, and he's back in his normal livery, Chris.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? Ironic. After we talked that he was back in his all yellow livery last time, he's back in the bumblebee or the wasp with the sting in its tail now, and he wants it to have a sting in his tail, doesn't he? Because he is at the pointy end of the championship, and when we were in the drivers' briefing, he started to ask questions about how it's going to be all worked out by the end with this and one more round to go. as you called it, he's getting twitchy bum time, isn't he?
Oh yeah, he needs to be very careful about what he's doing. I think any moment in a championship like this can very quickly turn it around. So we'll have to see what he can cope with, because the pressure does mount up a hell of a lot on these guys, and I think we're going to see it start to take its toll as we get near the sharp end of the championship. But it looks like Aaron has got the job done there. Brian Crowles is going to be the next car around, although Jason Glenn actually is the next one in the timing tower on the left that is up to pace. And, well, you can see the front end of the car lifting off the ground so much when they get on the power. They're running it so soft around here. Big drift on the exit as well from Jason Glenn. But he's doing a fine job in third. He goes across the line. And does he improve on his time? He does not. We're waiting to see Alex Sedgwick, though. We know that Alex has got a great record on the ovals so far this season, and he wants to add to it. It's very bright coming into those last few corners, though, isn't it? I mean, the sun's still quite high, but it looks like the track is really hotting up and getting quite well lit.
Yeah, I mean, as you say, he's been cracking around the ovals, not really hooking it up there. 7th as it stands at the minute, and he's gone straight on there as though he sort of knows. Oh, does that mean Jonathan Hill's gone back to the monster truck livery, the Gravedigger?
He has, yes.
I'm loving that.
He did actually message me the other day. He said, I'll read you the exact message he sent me. Where is it? He put, the Gravedigger livery is coming back for the rest of the season. I've added a few sponsors of the guys that pay the bills. It's otherwise untouched. I had no luck in the other livery, so hopefully this helps me have some better results. And I tell you what,
awesome.
It's a hit up here as well, so keep it on, Jonathan. Keep it on.
We do love it. We do love it. But yeah, I was going to say, Alex Sedgwick, is that they, a lot of them are sort of thinking that he's going to do well round here and that it's his to throw away type thing. But at the moment, he's taken a little while just to get himself up to speed, isn't he?
Yeah, and I think that he's one of those drivers, though, that no matter how he does in qualifying, his racecraft does help out. Look at these things flying down the straight. It's epic to watch. Connor Mills on it at the moment. Reigning champion, of course, Revolution Satellite Racing driver. Through the bus stop, you see the car bouncing around. I mean, we've seen these things lifting wheels off the ground at Zolder, especially. And Alex has actually messaged the group chat that we have going on for all the organisers. He says, I despise off tracks. So it means that obviously he hasn't had his clean lap. Is obviously nowhere near as quick as his one with an off track in it. This is Connor Mills, been quite tentative around the second to last. See what he does at the final corner, and the back end steps out, corrective oversteer. Proper lighting it up, and how does he do across the line? Second, 2/10 down on Aaron Smith. So Aaron, his teammate, top at the moment. Let's see George.
And I was interested to see what he was going to do, because of course when I'm commentating on him in the real world, in the Legends, and he said it to us in the past, is that he does get like being able to turn right and left, doesn't he? So he was really hoping he'd go well round here, and so far so good. You know, the championship leader is the only car that's ahead of him as it stands at the moment. Yep,
he's getting the job done as such, but being on the front row in these races is so important. And we've seen it before, I mean, not just on the road courses, but on the ovals as well. George Tolsma here, just going around the carousel. We have a 14-car grid today, so I think we're still going to see a hell of a lot of action from these guys. They don't half look like they're shifting when they come towards camera down that straight. That's the thing with these cars. I mean, they've got, I think, 675-ish brake horsepower, is it? It's just under 700, isn't it?
You're testing me. I've got that on another piece of paper somewhere.
I'm pretty sure.
Next time, eh?
Sorry, mate. I know the top notch. The what
675.
were the? Yeah, I know what the Monster Cup ones, or what was the Monster Energy Cup ones were. They're about 850, and then these are, I mean, to be fair, 675 brake horsepower. It's not exactly
that's
a
limited,
slouch,
isn't it?
Yeah, that's it. It's pretty mad how much power these things do get, and it's the fact that they've not actually got that much sort of. There's no sort of underfloor aero or any trickery in these cars, and I quite like that about them. You know, they're proper raw racing cars, aren't they? They're all down to mechanical grip and the fleshy bit behind the wheel doing all the work.
It is, absolutely. I mean, I've used the phrase, and you chuckle when I said it, but it's how we describe it when I'm covering the American Speed Fest at Brands Hatch, and we have a chat to the guys and look at the cars. they're agricultural. You know, they're raw. There's no aids. It is literally brute force. Get in, and you've got to. Both pedals have got to be loved and caressed, baby.
Yeah, well, that's it. It's pretty bonkers how smooth some of these drivers can be in these cars, but it's the only way to drive them. If you want pace out of it, you have to be smooth. You can't be too eager on the throttle and step the rear end out. Good evening, Student Motorsport as well, and Joel as well in the chat, and Racing Phil saying, "Go Mikey boy." Thank you everybody that is watching so far. We do appreciate it. As Tolsma does his lap there, 3.9 off the pace though. Not the best of laps for him. Decides that he doesn't want to use those sets, that set of tyres. Mr. Nugin says hello. Well, it says hi. Good to see you, mate. Jeff Hooper and Jack Mace are the only two cars not to have qualified at the moment. George Tolsma is just sort of ticking down the clock now. There are 25 seconds left of qualifying, and then we should have the grid. James Harvey is 9th at the moment, just inside the top 10, just behind Alex Sedgwick. Guillaume Hesno, Marcel Freinzena in the middle of the pack as well. Mikey Doble 5th, of course, the sponsor of last week's event, the Doble Bounty Challenge, which, despite my technical issues, was a hell of a lot of fun, wasn't it, Chris?
It was awesome, mate. You know, it was obviously completely missing you, mate, but my God, it was amazing.
It certainly was a hell of a lot of good fun. So we'll just bring up the grid for everybody then for this one. And I tell you what, I cannot wait to see how these guys get this one under their belts and get it by the scruff of the neck. So Aaron Smith will line up on pole position. He is alongside Connor Mills. Brian Crowles will line up third with Jason Glenn on the second row with him. Mikey Doble and Marcel Freinzena make up row 3. We then have Guillaume Hesno, who's been very quick this season, in 7th place, just ahead of Alex Sedgwick in the number 9. It's going to be interesting to see Alex make his way through. James Harvey for Student Motorsport lines up in 9th place with Jonathan Hill in the Gravedigger livery, rounding out the top 10. Behind him is Yuri Ishmael in 11th. Then we have George Tolsma lining up in 12th place. And the back row of the grid, just behind those guys, is Jack Mace in the number 36 for Mace Motorsports, and Jeff Hooper for E30 Motorsports in the number 79 car at the back of the pack. So, we're going to have a good old riot around Watkins Glen, I think. It's going to be a hell of a lot of fun. Just going to see what we can do with getting this race underway then. The guys are getting a bit impatient to walk away here, or to drive away. I hope they won't be walking. Connor Mills and Aaron Smith lead you away then from the start. And they've got an entire pace lap here actually, Chris, which is quite interesting because not all of them do.
And I was just about to say, as Jeff Hooper made it in, but judging from the message, sadly, he was just too late. His PC crashed, and he was hoping to just get in time in 14th place, but it looks like he's just missed out, sadly.
Oh, it's a real shame that for Jeff not to make it. And as you've seen, everybody, in these past few weeks, technical issues are the bane of our lives. We do sort of, in sim racing, we attribute them to like mechanical issues, don't we? You know, the mechanical issues aren't always simulated in these sorts of things, so we sort of let the internet and the hardware do that sort of stuff for us, really, don't we?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's he's got to be gutted. He was desperately, frantically on his way back in. You can't get back in the lobby, too late was the final message, and yeah, that is the way it goes, and it is a real shame. We'd love to see Jeff on there, which at the back, because he didn't even manage to get a time in qualifying, did he? But he could have started from the back, but we've not. But these lot, they don't care. They don't know what's going on behind them. First corner, I don't know whether to look, if I'm honest.
Yeah, we know there may be a bit of argy-bargy going in there. George Tolsma seems to have disappeared. Yeah, it's I've listened to too much. I've listened to too much Charlie Cox in the 90s. That's my. Oh, actually, to be fair, Murray Walker used to say argy-bargy quite a lot as well, so I've probably listened to too much of him. It was on the F1 97 game anyway. George Tolsma, though, he seems to have disappeared as well, actually. Not quite sure whether he's able to take the start. Trying to click on him, but he's not there. That's Mikey Doble, 5th at the moment, and to be honest, Mikey had quite a good running out last week in his own sponsored event, so I'm expecting good things from him here, but it's the Revolution Satellite Racing boys on the front row then, two teammates. How do you reckon they're going to work together here, Chris?
They're not. Simple
Yeah,
as
you're
that.
right.
They're not.
That's the scary truth, everybody. Chris is bang on with that prediction because they won't. They absolutely won't. They're going to hammer. They're going to go hammer and nail at this.
Well, you think about it, it's last year's champion against champion-elect to some extent. I mean, it's a bit early to say that, but you know what I mean. He's leading the way at the moment, is Aaron Smith. So, no chance. I can't see it. Connor Mills is only third in the championship. That's if we take out Alex Sedgwick as a pro. So, I don't know. It's going to be incredible.
And here we go then. Aaron Smith lights it up. The car's almost doing a wheelie down the straight. Connor Mills straight on it. He says, right, you don't want the inside line. I'll take that, sunshine. Guillaume Hesno's gone round. Oh, James Harvey gets smacked into by Jack Mace. And there's contact as they get away as well. Oh, James Harvey. That's such a shame. Such a shame. We'll have to look back up at the front, see what's going on. Aaron Smith, though, has actually maintained his lead from Connor Mills. Here they come flying through. And Yuri Ishmael's actually gained 4 places already. He's side by side with Alex Sedgwick going down to the bus stop. But it's a real shame there. It looks like we may have already lost James Harvey from the race. How do you see it, Chris?
I mean, it's a bit difficult to see at the back. These two were going at it, hammer and tong at the front, and we were glued to that. And let's have a look. And it looks like he was just sandwiched between everyone. Guillaume Hesno had nowhere to go, and then Jack Mace pretty much the same thing. Once they're in the middle of the track, it's difficult to get them back going again, isn't it? Sadly.
Yeah, it just seemed a case of once he sort of committed to turn 1, there wasn't a lot else he could do. Yuri Ishmael's off the circuit there, just manages to keep it all in check though and come back on. It's close here actually between Alex Sedgwick and Mikey Doble. You can just see him coming into shot there. Sorry, actually, it's Sedgwick and Freinzehner. Just swapped round as I clicked on them, so I thought it was Doble, but Freinzehner losing out there, and now Alex is, well, he's on his inevitable rise to the front of the pack that we anticipated, but it's not easy around here because it's so easy to push these cars beyond their capability and lose a lot of time, isn't it?
It is, and there's not a lot of space to get away with it, is there, really? We saw it there as we're going there. I mean, look, from one side of the circuit to the other, and you feel like he could probably reach out the window and touch the barrier as we go through the bus stop now, through the first phase, through the second, on the power. Now we start going downhill. You don't get a great idea of how much of a downhill this is here, particularly, but it's just a real struggle. Tries to drag you away. Now we're into the cut-through bit instead of going down to the boot, and they're back on the power again. But you've really got to be gentle through that section, and yet you can get on the power quite early through the bus stop, the inner loop.
Yeah, for sure. It's not as straightforward as it seems. Jeff Hooper is not in the race. He has not managed to get in. I thought he may have just managed to sneak in because sometimes you can in these sessions, but nope. That is George Tolsma in the pit lane. Not quite sure what issues he's having at the moment. James Harvey.
He managed to get involved then, didn't he? Because he was missing out.
Yeah, he wasn't quite there at the start. Jack Mace has gone deep and made more contact with James Harvey. Those two are going to need to send each other an email or two after this one, I think. Jonathan Hill's in a fight here, though, with Yuri Ishmael. Guillaume Hesno trying to make his way back up the order, obviously after being involved in that spin at the start. And we've seen that Guillaume's fast this season, so I reckon around here, I mean, he wasn't too shabby at Zolder either. I reckon he's got a chance of having a good comeback here. I
think you're right. I mean, he's going to be frustrated. That was nothing to do with him, that first incident. He literally came round turn 1, the 90, and the car was sideways in front of him with nowhere to go because there was cars in front and behind of the sideways car. So he was stuck, but he's now absolutely on it. Managed to get past the gravedigger Jonathan Hill relatively straightforwardly, but now he's up behind the number 18 car of Yuri Ishmael. Just running a little bit wide there was Ishmael, as we saw him do earlier onto the grass. Now he's slamming that door shut, trying to make sure, and he's not going to let it be easy for Hesno, for sure, as they were coming up to a left-hander. He wanted to make sure he had the race in line, but he's gone a bit tight out of there. That is giving Hesno that snifter. You don't need to give Guillaume too many opportunities for him to really try and find a way to take advantage of it.
No, definitely. Guillaume knew that door was probably going to open, and I'm sure that if he had headlights that worked on that car, he'd be flashing them right now. He gets on the brakes a bit early. Jonathan Hill nearly touching the back there. Oh, as Yuri's actually gone a bit deep, so never mind Guillaume getting on the brakes early. He probably got him at the right time. Yuri's gone way too deep. Through goes Guillaume Hesno into 8th position now. He has got 3.4 seconds ahead to this guy, Marcel Freinzehner. And, oh, actually, was there a bit of I think one of them may have just gone a little bit wide behind there. But it seems like they're all sorted out. Jonathan Hill having a look down the inside of Ishmael into the bus stop. First move we've seen there today Nice and calm. And he manages to get that done. A bit further up, Mikey Doble has now got Alex Sedgwick right up behind him on his pretend exhausts that they paint on the back of the Camaro. And, well, I mean, Alex was running Mikey's livery last week, obviously in support of the sponsorship that Mikey had given that round of the championship, but I don't think that Alex is going to be doing him any favours today, Chris.
No. Well, in fairness, even when they were in the identical livery, we saw them having a fantastic set to. And it was those two and Billy Fletcher just absolutely glued together. And Cedric was not hanging about there. He was prepared to throw his nose up the inside no matter what was going to happen. And I think we're going to see exactly the same. In fairness, Mikey was absolutely loving it. When we interviewed him afterwards, he was like chuckling away, absolutely high as a kite, loved every second of it. New challenge, it's sort of, the tightness of it's going to feel similar to the Gilles Villeneuve circuit over in Canada, but the undulations make it a little bit different here because it was nice and flat largely at Canada, isn't it? Not so here.
No, definitely not. Well, I mean, to be honest, you can see that even through some of these corners, the fact that Mikey's car is right in front of Alex is not actually helping him at this point because it sort of blocks your view of the apex. And in a car like this, where you can't be as accurate sometimes, if you need to make little adjustments, it's going to be difficult to overtake into a corner. You need to get a really good run onto one of the long straights, I reckon, just to make sure you've got it done.
It is, because it's so undulating. There's a number of times that your braking points or your apexes or certainly what has potentially happened further around the corner is absolutely blind to you, which makes that a challenge as it is. Jack Mason's the pits by the looks of it. But it not only does it become a challenge, but if the car in front just makes a slight mistake, the probability is that there's an even higher probability that you're going to follow them off and do the same. I mean, you kind of saw it there in reality. Oh, Jeff Hooper's made it out. That's fantastic to see.
Yeah, good to see, man.
Is that, they both went a little bit wide at the 90 turn 1. And that's how easy it is, because you're going to be sort of using them as a slight frame of reference, as little as you try to, but it's going to distract you, isn't it?
Yeah, you need to sort of try and tone out of anything like that during a race, but it's not that easy, as Alex really closed up there. I thought there was going to be contact, but managed to get away with it. These guys have not got too much of a gap ahead of them, actually, to Jason Glenn. You'll see him just in front there in the number 55 in the Track Velocity racing car. He's only just under a second ahead, while Aaron Smith actually has a 1.5 second lead over his Connor Mills. Wow, enter stage right, completely sideways there. The car was facing the camera the entire time. Brilliant stuff to see from Connor Mills. But this is the thing, he loves this sort of stuff, doesn't he, Chris? I mean, you've seen him before, and he obviously knows what he's doing in a car like this. He's certainly got the skills to launch it about. But wow, pretty immense, isn't it?
It is. I mean, flippantly, Aaron Smith, even, I think it was Aaron that said it when, sort of probably post-driver briefing, really, where we have a bit of banter before we get going. And he says, you Brits, and you love your turning right, don't you? And all of that. And it's the obvious joke, but, to some, it's absolutely a true point. And Connor Mills is one of those that absolutely loves throwing these things right and left. Aaron Smith is only messing about because we've seen how good he's been during the course of this year already on the rights and the lefts. I mean, Charlotte Roval, he came in second. Zolder, he won. So we know that he is pretty handy around them. And in fact, what did he do at Canada? He won in Gilles Villeneuve as well, didn't he? So
yeah.
He may make that joke, but he's blindingly good at it. Connor Mills, we know, is. So he's there trying to keep him honest. Brian Krause, he was doing a cracking job as well last weekend, a great double-header race. So he's there in a relatively lonely third place at the moment, but I think that he's there ready to pick up pieces. Talking about pieces, Cedric nearly went to pieces there in the number 9 car, didn't he? As he shook his tail feathers as he came out of the last bend onto the start-finish straight. But he's able to get away with it quite well, isn't he? Because he didn't lose that much ground to the blue and white 22 car of Doble.
Yeah, that's one of the arts of driving these cars, I think, is that you can get the rear end out a bit and have them twitching around, but as long as you carry the momentum through the corner still, they all say loose is fast, and I mean, loose is the only way to drive these cars, I think, because if they were too planted and a bit too stiff, then you'd probably just get understeer. But the guys that are really quick, I mean, you see it in things like the Porsche Esports Super Cup as well on iRacing, that a lot of them are actually put in, like, you'll be going around the carousel now, and so many of them will have the steering wheel straight. The car will just be, like, ready to pitch around, and they'll just be keeping it pointing where they want it, just on the exit especially. There's Alex again, sideways, but like you say, he's not losing too much ground. He's still getting a good run, and he's picking up a bit of slipstream, but I must say, Mikey Doble's doing a cracking job at holding this place so far, and he's showing us that he's not just a one-trick pony here. He's got some proper good pace on him.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you say, is that although he's going defensive, the pair of them are closing in, or certainly not losing ground. And Jason Glenn's going to be there. He's got to make sure he's not watching too much in his rearview mirror of this fantastic race just behind him, which would be incredibly tempting to do, wouldn't it? But they could work together and start closing in, which, let's not discount that as a possibility. Is that last week they were officially teammates in the Doble Motorcycles liveried cars, and they could work together to try and get onto the back of Jason Glenn, but they're racing drivers first and foremost, and you see it. And again, this is where Alex Sedgwick has been cracking every time in towards the bus stop. He's closed right in, not really a place that you can make a move, but if we can carry this speed through both apexes, get on that power early, ready to now go plunging down the hill and through the long right-hander of the outer loop or the carousel. And in fact, both of them managed to reel in Jason Glenn dramatically there. So they're kind of pushing each other on through those quick sections, aren't they?
Yeah, that's it. I think by battling, these pair would have probably slowed each other down a bit if they were, if Mikey was being over defensive and Alex was being over aggressive. But you can see right now from the chopper cam that gap has really closed down to Jason Glenn. Not sure whether he's having issues with his tyres or whether he's just got sort of something that I suffer from when I'm racing, that once someone starts closing up on me, you drive in your rearview mirror and you start making mistake after mistake. Mikey there showing his nose a little bit. He's just saying, I'm coming, I'm on my way. And I tell you what, they are closing up, although Mikey misses the apex a bit. Is this Alex's chance? Is he thinking, right, I want to spearhead this attack? No, you don't, Mikey says. Get out of the way. Alex just wants to push through, but this is great now because this is going to start working into the hands of Jason Glenn. So scrap everything I was saying. We've got a proper scrap on our hands.
And that was quite incredible, but it goes to show how difficult this circuit is that Doble was the one that missed the apex, and yet you could see how much later Sedgwick was on the brakes in the number 9 car, and it works. So it's an incredibly technical circuit, this one, in so many ways, and it doesn't necessarily lend itself to one driver on its own, because you have to be strong at different elements. Again, the same part of the circuit, through the bus stop, down through the carousel, that Sedgwick has closed right onto the back of Doble. Now they're going to be punching through the air together, trying to reel back into to Jason Glenn 55. At this rate, though, I think that before too much longer, Sedgwick's going to go, I've got to go for this. Now, The reality is we're going to see pit stops, though. The majority of people are going to want to try and stick it out with one. Now, Sedgwick's got the power down nicely up the inside of the final corner, onto the start-finish straight, and he's going to have the inside line by the time we get to turn 90, or the 90, sorry, the first turn at the end. Surely he's got this signed, sealed, and delivered now. He's just trying to hang it round the rear end out, and he has, but that was not an easy job with the tighter line, was it?
No, you said he had it signed, sealed, and delivered there, but for a moment it looked like he was trying to do it through Yodel, so I don't know if he was going to get it done or not. But you can see already a nice run up through the S's, and he's cleared it. It's close near the top, by the way. Connor Mills has got a big flying stars and stripes behind him in the form of Brian Crowles, and to be honest, Connor's got a bit of damage on that front right, so I'm not sure where he's picked that up, but seems like Brian has certainly got the pace on him now. Also, Student Motorsport, loving your descriptors as well. Undulating. It's a great word, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. It kind of sums this whole circuit up dramatically. Yeah. Look at this. Brian Krause is flying now. Now, I'm wondering, what are we at now? Lap 11 of 31. Are we starting to see? And Connor Mills does seem to punish his tyres. We've seen it a couple of the circuits where he's absolutely destroyed the tyres. Yeah. He pushes that car incredibly hard. This suggests maybe he's doing the same again here. It doesn't mean he would do it at every circuit, but at the moment, that does not look at its finest fettle compared to what we had earlier. Aaron Smith has checked out, disappeared off into the distance, but Connor Mills now is trying to defend from Brian Krause. You look, I mean, it was like turning the QE2 round that corner, it looked there. It was so much effort for him to keep it round there. He is absolutely fighting this like a bucking bronco, and he needs to keep it there till we get to pit stop time. As I say, we will stop once. If there's any cautions, you might see a few of them take advantage of that, because they could probably do with one stop if it was a caution. If there is no caution, Yes, they probably need to stop, but they won't want to.
Definitely, and the times are actually coming down from Hesno and James Harvey. They're both making their way through the order again. Guillaume and James are probably, other than Mikey Doble, are the only guys that are almost as quick as Alex, but I mean, Connor Mills and Aaron Smith and Brian Kralls are still quicker than them as well. So, I mean, these guys are making their way back up the order, but the pace at the front is unbelievable. This is now close. Cedric on the back of Jason Glenn already. But
Wow.
we've had Joel comment in the chat saying Brian is a hero in saving his tyres, so Connor's going to have to watch out. And to be honest, he's right, because while we do comment that we've seen Connor ruin his tyres, we've seen that Brian's really good in a long run, isn't he, at saving them. That was very sideways there.
In fairness, Cedric is really making this thing dance, isn't he? It's like a ballet performance around every corner, the way he's just like dancing on the throttle, the brakes and everything. He's probably giggling every time he's going around every corner. I can actually picture him on this sim giggling as he's going around each corner, especially now he's on the glued to the rear end of the 55 car of Glenn. And Glenn has just been thinking, heck, it was so much better when it was the other way round. But look at this run. We've seen every single time. Out of the S's towards the bus stop, Cedric has monstered this section dramatically, and he's done it before he's even got to the bus stop. That is cracking. Now, I've got to say, the reason that is so good, the S's, where it goes up the hill, the top left-hand sweep is not many people have the confidence and the setup, the feel of the handling to be able to just take it flat out through that left-hander, like Eau Rouge, etc., at Spa, but Alex seems to be loving that section, doesn't he?
Yeah, I was just about to say, as he went up there, it was sort of hanging it out a little bit more to the right and then really being aggressive on the left is what gave him that run there. Connor Mills in the pits, by the way. Connor is the first to jump in.
Thought he would.
So now Brian Kralls is unleashed as such.
And that does confirm what we said about the tyres, doesn't it? And of course, I dare say he's going to repair whatever damage is there that may have been having a bit of an impact on the handling of that car. We had no idea where he got that. He just must have had a little love affair with one of the barriers quite close. I'd imagine it was as much a case of lighting up the rears a bit too much out of one of the corners, make a little bit of contact, and hopefully it will get all repaired and he'll change the tyres and off he'll go again, he says, hoping. Well, he's on his way out now, pit exit, so he is heading back out again.
Nice clean car as well.
Yeah.
So hopefully for him that'll be handling as well as it should have been earlier. Brian Kralls,
and
though,
that does confirm, by the way, sorry,
right.
Chaz, that does confirm that to me that the handling was affected enough by it for him to do it, because of course that would have meant his pit stop would have taken that fraction longer by saying yes to the repair job. Yes. As I understand it. So he obviously knew it needed to be done.
Yeah, he's, well, I mean, in that situation, you may as well, if it's going to help you in the long run. You don't know how much time you can gain back. Jason Glenn isn't leaving Alex Cedric alone, though, here. Also, another interesting point now, Connor Mills is, I mean, no offence to James, he's stuck behind James Harvey now. He's on fresh rubber. James in front of him. This may hinder him and lose him that little bit of time to Brian Kralls when he comes back on, and Jonathan Hill in there too. We've got Mikey Doble just coming in the pit lane. See him on the left of his shot there. Guillaume Hesno is going to go straight past him, but we'll come back to this because Jonathan Hill has now lost out to James Harvey as well in the very second-hand Student Motorsport machine. But Connor is on a mission here. We'll have a look at, well, his lap time this time won't matter too much because he's obviously had the pit stop almost, well, just over halfway already, to be honest, Chris. This race flies by, doesn't it, when it's, well, the whole series does, but these races on these sort of road courses are so much quicker to get through than the oval ones, believe it or not.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, it does tend to take an awful lot more for there to potentially be a caution thrown on these circuits. James Harvey run a little bit wide on the first corner, the exit of the first corner, but thankfully for him, there is a lot of runoff on that bit, isn't there? So get away with it. But if you keep doing it, I think that's one of the places where you do get a kind of, slow it from the race control.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, race leader in the pits. Aaron Smith is in the pits. The Wasp is in the hive. And do Wasps have hives? Brian Kralls also jumping in.
Yeah.
So
now this is the interesting one, isn't it, with Connor Mills then?
Yes, definitely. We'll have to look, where is Connor? He's just coming out of the carousel. It seems like forever away, doesn't it? But it's only a couple of corners. And I imagine, well, the pit stops here have been taking about 14 and a half seconds for these guys. So on pit lane, it's usually about 47 to 50 seconds. So I think we may see a close one here. We'll look at Brian. He's not even in his pit box yet. It's a long pit lane at Watkins, though, isn't it? You can see Aaron's car going up as well there. See what happens.
Not as long as when I went on the other day, Sonoma. Crikey, that's a long pit lane.
Oh, God, yeah. Oh, it's horrifying, honestly.
Yeah.
Feels like you need to get a boat. Connor Mills has gone through, though. Look at that.
Wow.
Connor has
By
done
a country mile.
demon outlap. Wow. How's he...
That is bizarre, isn't it? And that included with a bit of a repair.
Yeah.
I wonder whether Brian Krause... No, because he wasn't that far behind Aaron Smith when they came in, was he? And they both of them have got out fairly well. That is intriguing. Now, what we've got to keep an eye on, of course, is that Connor has clearly done an absolutely incredible job there. It shows that the tyres were off for Krause and Co. At the end of their stint as well. But how much has Connor Mills taken out of his tyres now to try and make this work? It's worked for him now, and he's got himself in the pound seats.
Yeah.
But it's going to be interesting come the end of this race, you know.
Look at that fresh rubber making a difference there for Brian Krause around the outside of James Harvey. Through he goes, and he needs that because at the end of the day he doesn't want to get stuck behind him. But, I mean, the difference in the lap times, even the in-lap and out-lap, was only 0.7 of a second as Freinzehner comes in the pits. Brian Krause was only 0.7 slower on his in-lap than Connor Mills was on his out-lap. So, to be honest, how a 7-second gap has opened up, I'm really not sure. Whether Brian's done something on the pit lane or whether he's taken too much fuel, I don't know. But, I mean, the repairs that Connor would have done would have literally, like you say, been a fraction of a second. And I think, even in these cars, as Mikey Doble does his personal best of the race, I think in these cars it actually applies it at the same time as you getting other stuff done as well. So I don't even think it might have affected it, you know. It's crazy. But the
only thing was that we were surprised that Krause wasn't even at his pit stop. And I know it is a long pit lane, but I wonder whether there was a little mistake in there and he took a bit longer getting to his actual box, potentially. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, these things don't have pit lane speed limiters, so you never know. I mean, those extra couple of kilometres an hour or miles an hour down the pit lane can make a difference. I'm intrigued to see where Alex Sedgwick and Jason Glenn end up after this, because these two, they must be on absolutely shattered tyres at the moment. We've got Harvey and Hill who haven't done their stops yet. Tolsma and Hooper, unfortunately. It looks like Jeff is out of the... No, Jeff is still actually in the race, so he's still lapping. I just think he's not done as much as George
he's doing
has.
well,
way up!
himself.
Speak of! Oh, that's at the top of the hill.
Crunch.
Just out of the way of Yuri Ishmael there, who goes through. That was a scary moment.
That was the Days of Thunder. Just aim for where he was, drive, aim for where he was.
Yeah. See it, it's understeering there. And then, it just oversteers on the throttle. And that's the thing with worn out tyres, it's going to happen. And to be fair, the car naturally got out of the way of Yuri Ishmael quite nicely. This is race leader, effectively, race leader and champion-elect Aaron Smith, just chasing down Guillaume Hesno at the moment. And Guillaume, again, he got involved in that sort of incident at the start, and he's been recovering since, but he's still on tired tyres as such. And again, look at that around the outside from Aaron Smith. That just shows you the difference, though, doesn't it? I mean, we can see it in lap times, but that visually shows you the grip difference they have.
But then you've got to flip it on its head, is that Guillaume Hesno is going to be on fresher tyres at the end of the race by this rate as well, though, than these guys. So, very true. It's interesting. It's worth rolling the dice at the end of the day, especially with him getting involved in someone else's moment, is that he's got nothing to lose. He's got to keep picking his way up. Tolsma into the pits, unsurprisingly, with the damage he's going to need to get repaired. But Guillaume Hesno, he's pushing hard. And that I do think is that he's there going, right, whilst I can handle this, I might not be the quickest thing out here, but I sure as heck am going to be at the tail end of this race, boys. Yeah,
very true. And he's just got to push as much as he can. I mean, Aaron Smith has just gained 3-4 tenths just going up the hill, though, and it just shows you how it can add up. Cedric's opened this gap up on Jason Glenn, though, by about 2 seconds now, and I think that may be down to maybe Jason just quite can't handle these tyres at their worst as much as Alex can. We know that Alex likes to drift this car around. He's very good at it, but to be honest,
that's why I was surprised that he's not dived in yet, because you'd think surely his are hurting.
To be fair, Jason's done a great job of sticking with him, though. I mean, even the defence before that we saw, him and Mikey have been really, really impressive in showing that they can handle pace, but you can see that car's just not behaving now. They have to be way, way more patient halfway around the corner. James Harvey's just coming out the pit lane, and it's another lap for Jason Glenn and Alex Sedgwick. All this time, Aaron Smith, though, is only 7 seconds behind them now, and a pit stop, the whole pit lane time is between 45 and 50 seconds.
Yeah.
And I mean, if you go 55 seconds back from the race leader, that's Yuri Ishmael down in 9th place. So I don't see how this is going to work for Alex and Jason.
Well, again, Alex is going to be rolling the dice with something a bit different, isn't he? Because of the fact that his qualifying went wrong, where he had, I think he was suggesting that he had an off-track slow down or something to that effect. And so he's had to roll the dice and do something a little bit different. And this is clearly what he's doing. He's got himself in some clean air now. Why go into the pits and throw yourself into the middle of the pack when he's cleared away from Jason Glenn in the 55 car? And he's trying... I mean, you're absolutely right, is that Smith is closing on him the whole time. But remember, it is going to be the other way round at the end.
Very true. Very true. So we know now that Hesno, Sedgwick and Glenn are the only ones not to have stopped. And we're still waiting for them. James Harvey's right behind Yuri Ishmael here. Oh, Jeff Hooper's had an issue. Jeff Hooper has stopped the car. Not quite sure what's happened here, whether he's just had an issue. Oh, dear me, that's on the grass. And he clips the wall and that goes in. And that's a big hit, and he keeps the car out of the way there as George Tolsma goes through, but I think that is going to be the end of Jeff Hooper's race. Jason Glenn is in the pit lane here now, and Alex Sedgwick's gone on to do another lap. Well, look, Aaron Smith's already gone past. Aaron Smith is already in turn 1.
Wow.
So I don't know what they were trying to gain from it, but it's certainly not worked yet, but we'll have to see.
And I would imagine from Jason Glenn's perspective, he's there sort of thinking, well, hold up, if the pro driver in Alex Sedgwick is doing something here, it's worth me trying to do this. But I would suggest that he's now got to the stage of gone, I don't care what Sedgwick's doing, I can't do it anymore, I can't follow, I'm out of here, I'm getting fresh rubber on. But, you know, I would probably be tempted is the fact that, you know, when you've got someone of Alex Sedgwick's calibre in the real world and in the sim world pulling something a little bit different, why not? Why not give it a go?
Yeah, it's very true. You do need to just, like you say, roll the dice with these situations. You say the phrase there, of someone's calibre. A little funny story about something someone said to me the other day. They tried to come out with that phrase and said something about caliper. And I was like, did you say that caliper as in brake caliper? And they were like, yeah, I thought that's what the phrase was. And I asked them why. And they thought that it was some sort of like insinuating phrase that someone can hold it together like a brake caliper can hold a disc together.
It.
Which, to be fair, that's a very in-depth way of looking at it, but my God, did I laugh.
We're not that deep, though, are we? We're not that deep.
Oh, no, I've not got enough brain cells to do that and this. But to be honest, I did have a good laugh at it because, you know, it can make sense in a way. So, yeah, quite a fan of that. This is Connor Mills on the back of Guillaume Hesno. Now, Guillaume Hesno has not pitted. Connor Mills pitted on lap 13, so his laps are 9... His laps are 9 tyres old. His tyres are 9 laps old at the moment. And to be honest, any time that Guillaume is now holding him up is opening the gap up to Aaron Smith, no matter where Guillaume is in terms of his strategy. And this is the thing with these races. These guys have to be very careful as to where they're going to come out. But sometimes you've just got to get the lap in your head and choose it. Connor's taken the opportunity, though.
Wow.
Hesno on the grass a little bit, but wow, that was gutsy stuff.
I'm not surprised. I mean, that was how you rough and tumble. Apologies for camping that up, but rough and tumble and elbows out race without actually being dirty and making contact. And you've got to applaud both drivers for this one. Is that Connor Mills has done an absolutely outstanding job here. He's not going to expect me to do this. He's going to think I'm going to slow down. I'm not going. I'm going for it. Guillaume Hesno stayed wide enough there and went, there's no point taking both of us out there, spooked him enough across the grass. You genuinely got to take your hats off to both drivers there. Yeah,
it was beautiful. Really nicely done as well. Respectful stuff. Powerful stuff from Connor Mills. It looks like we've had an issue for Yuri Ishmael. So it's Yuri Issue at the moment. Let's have a quick look here. Second to last. It's easy to put a wheel on the grass on the exit of here, but oh no, it's just oversteered.
It was under the braking. What did you see? He had his front end wagged as he was braking. So, which I've done around this one as well, is that it is tricky, very, very tricky. And you can see he's losing it there. Oh, Krause is now trying desperately. That was why Connor Mills got through quickly, wasn't it? Because he could see that Krause was closing in on him. Hesno is not really in this race because of not pit stopping yet, but he's doing what he's got every right to do here. He's not being lapped. There's no blue flags. He doesn't have to jump out of the way. He's trying to keep himself in this race as much as he can. This is where he's going to struggle down through this bit, but he parks it on the apex, so there's nothing that Krause can do. And of course, Krause tyres on a lot newer, but they're not going to be in good enough condition to be able to blast it around the outside of the carousel there, I don't think.
No, I mean, to be honest, he probably should have gone a bit wide just to see if he could pry the door open a little bit there, but it's not quite worked. And Hesno, like you say, parked it on the apex, did the job. A bit deep into the final corner there. Brian's going to get on the power, but he has a bit of a wiggle.
He's forced it. He's forced it again. He did, didn't he? He showed his nose up the inside without any intention of throwing it far enough up there, but made sure that Hesno was going to be watching him, and he's done it again there as he's just been spooked off into the grass. But the tight line there from Crowell through turn one meant that was a real struggle for him there, and Hesno tried to come back at him, but fair play, no contact, just tucked himself up behind to now following up through the S's and this run all the way down to the bus stop. But Crowell has done it, but bad news for him is it took too long, and look at that. That is the lead battle between Cedric, who hasn't pitted, and Aaron Smith has caught him, and I think even Alex might be going, maybe it wasn't my best idea.
Yeah, maybe so. But like you said before, mate, he has to sort of take a chance with starting a bit further down the order. But Aaron Smith...
Is it me, or am I trying not to sing now when you said take a chance?
You can if you want. Whoa, sideways
No.
from Cedric. But look at that, Aaron just makes it look easy. Out the final corner, he's got more traction. Alex can't really defend that one. And to be honest, I mean, these guys have been great sparring partners all season. And Alex won't take it lying down, we know that much. He's still going to try and push Aaron up the hill, but just the overriding confidence that Aaron's going to have now, back into the race lead. And of course, championship lead as well. We've only got one round of the championship left after this one, Chris. I think this is everything Aaron needs right now to really install that confidence that he can go on and take the title.
Well, it is when you consider the car that's directly behind him in the championship is Brian Crowell's, who is actually now sat 3 positions back in this race. It's exactly what he needs to happen. Connor Mills is ahead of him, so those two are going to be potentially do-si-do, your partner in the standings. So everything's going Aaron Smith's way here, and he's doing a fantastic job yet again. And he's been mighty impressive through his entire championship, because you can't just sit there and say, well, he's good on these. No, he's good, full stop. The only time he hasn't been is when he's just had some bad luck during the course of other races. Like, for example, it didn't go well for him at Daytona, getting involved in issues that pushed him rear end, and then he was involved in all that sort of stuff, mid and rear pack. And he started off, not particularly great around Kansas and Indy as well. And that was just because you can get involved in other people's moments, and that's what's cost him there. But everywhere else, he's just gone, stamp my authority, have it.
Yeah, definitely. Well, Zolder was an incredible performance of that. And I'm telling you, it's the livery. It's the Wasp livery. It's been incredible. Yuri Ishmael's just had a bit of an issue, I'm afraid. Or, again, on the brakes, it's just that change down. It can really, really harm the car's turning, and it'll snap around. Does a good job of recovering it, though. There's Aaron Smith just going through. Yuri is carrying on now. We've got 2.4 seconds between Mikey Doble and that guy just behind there, Jason Glenn. Jason, last time round, did a 1:14.25. Mikey did a 1:14.32. So the pace is good there. Fastest lap last time round by anybody was actually Connor Mills in third. He did a 1:13.7. Oh, no, actually, Aaron Smith, 1:13.6. I do apologise.
Well, what will be interesting, though, is, and it can't work because Cedric's lapping in 1:17s at the moment. Well, the other two are only in 1:16s, to be fair. So their last laps compared to their best. So I was just about to venture. I wonder whether Alex is actually trying to go for an almighty dice roll here, and he's trying not to pit.
Yeah, I was just going to ask earlier, actually, is it a mandatory stop that he mentioned? Because I don't remember him saying they had to.
I'm not aware of it.
Yeah.
No.
I think it was more advisory than anything on the MOT.
Well, the comment that we had was tyres wear very quickly on these cars with the current iRacing time model, especially at a track like this where they're constantly under high loads and unable to cool down. As a result, there could be some people pitting multiple times if we have any cautions. Otherwise, most people will try to stick it out with one stop. So it's sticking it out, which is the comment I was making earlier. Even just having one is sticking it out is the wording we had. But I guess he's got to try something. I mean, it looks like an absolute dog. He's ice racing, isn't he? Not blooming stock car racing now, but he's got to try and do something. And he's just drifting it round everywhere. And again, though, is that, I mean, he's going to be exhausted after this one, isn't he? But I just can visualize him giggling away while he's driving this.
Oh, yeah. I mean, to be fair, he was only half a second slower than Connor Mills last time round. So
primarily because I'm surprised that Aaron and Connor are down in the 15s and 16s were compared to their best of 13. So they're not back up to their best lap times. Alex Sedgwick is in the low 70s, so he's not that far off them. I mean, of course, he's not competitive. We saw that with Aaron, but starting, what did he start down in 8th position? He probably didn't have the outright victory in his mind, but if he can get himself up onto the podium, happy days.
Yeah, that's it.
Because he can't even do a splash. It's not a splash and dash, but you know what I mean by a quick stop. Because as you said, it's like what 45, 50 seconds for the entirety of a stop.
That'd drop him down to 9th place at the minute, behind Marcel.
Which is worse than his starting place, so that just wouldn't work. So he's got to 28 of 31. He is now trying to go the whole way without a stop.
I think he's a bit mad.
Guillaume Hesno's trying as well, actually. Let's not forget, Hesno's trying the same thing.
Yeah, very true, actually. Hesno holding it out there in 5th place at the moment. He's gained 2 positions from where he started. Alex has gained 6 places after starting 8th.
But look behind him, he's being closed in on by the blue and white of Doble and the blue and black of Jason Glenn, the 22 and 55 cars. They're not having their own fight yet, so they're not slowing each other up, but they're sure as heck reeling in the orange and black car of Guillaume Hesno. So the 68 car might be trying to go the whole way as well, which I would say he is with 3 laps left to go. But he's gonna have an almighty task on his hand to try and keep these two behind, I think.
Definitely. It's going to be a case of when, not if, I think. Although saying that, we're on lap 29 out of 31, so 2 more after this lap that these guys are just going on to now. Across the line they go. Down straight.
I'm just trying to understand the gap now. Connor Mills is 6 seconds behind Alex Sedgwick. Sedgwick's lapping at most a second slower than everybody else. And so there's not enough laps for Connor Mills to get ahead of Alex Sedgwick. This could be an absolute masterstroke by the boss.
I think the gap's 10 seconds now. It's actually, I don't know whether it opened up, because Brian Krause is now suddenly 7 tenths behind Connor. I'm not sure whether Connor had an issue there. But literally, as you said that, it dropped down to 10. So there's a commentator's curse for Connor. But, yeah, Smith's got a 6-second lead now. Sedgwick is now almost, like I say, 10 seconds ahead of Mills. So he's really done a great job there.
Work.
Yeah, it really will do, especially if Brian Krause puts Connor Mills under pressure. This is getting closer, though. And now, this is what Guillaume Hesno wants. He wants Jason Glenn to fight with Mikey Doble so that these guys don't end up trying to get past him. But you know that these guys can very quickly decide to work together, although I say that Jason Glenn is very close to the back of that Mikey Doble racing car. Tries to get a nice switch back, and that looks like it's worked very well for Jason Glenn. Wow. He doesn't have to worry about it on the power. No, there is an overlap. Great work by Jason Glenn. Will he get it done into turn 1 on the brakes? They shimmy around a little bit, as they do. Down the inside, Doble turns in quite aggressively. Jason Glenn looks like he's going to get that done, and he does. That was beautiful, that, Chris.
Oof. Wowzers, that was. I think that Mikey Doble tried desperately to sort of psych out Jason Glenn as much as possible. He knew that Glenn was alongside him. If he went, and I don't think there was quite contact, but Mikey Doble the third, as he is completely, he tried his absolute must, and it was all down to that last corner, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But Jason Glenn got an absolutely brilliant. However, I've got to say that that Doble did brilliantly to actually keep it on the outside there and be in the running coming into the first corner of this penultimate lap. But look at that, Jason Glenn's not hanging about. He's straight onto the back of the ailing Guillaume Hesno with those tyres. He knows it's going to be a struggle for him, so he's got to try and find a way to jump up and do something about it as quickly as possible.
Yeah, although he might have his moment here, the racecraft that we saw from him before was hang it back here, take a late apex, hug it to the inside. He's tried it again. It's not worked this time. Meanwhile, Aaron Smith, race leader, though, is on to the final lap. There he is. He's got 8 seconds over Connor Mills and Alex Sedgwick.
Ooh,
Connor Mills has got
Brian
Krause right behind him.
Sorry, mate.
It's all right.
I just happened to look at the screen and I saw that it was down to 0.15, and this is for the last step on the podium, isn't it?
It is indeed, and of course these two both chasing Aaron Smith in the championship as well, so they want to be doing this as best they can. And I tell you what, I think that Brian might have to go last chance saloon into the final corners here. He's going to have to really get his American side out with that Union Jack. Oh, goodness me, let's not get that wrong. Stars and Stripes. But anyway, into the final corner though. It's another incredible performance by Aaron Smith. He makes it look so effortless. And it is another step towards the championship in the Vertex Stock Car Cup. Aaron Smith wins. Beautiful drive, Aaron. Absolutely amazing work. And to be fair, the boss, Alex Sedgwick, handling that, as Chris described it, dog of a car across the line. Manages to hold on. I think he was out of fuel as well, actually. It wasn't making a noise. Connor Mills is just going to beat Brian Cross to the line. Holds on by 0.05 of a second. And Guillaume Hesno and Mikey Doble. Oh, Jason Glenn's got past him. Mikey's saying, no, get out of the way, Guillaume. Oh, and he's turned him. There was a little bit of left lock there. I'm not sure about that. I'm not sure about that one. That was a shame.
The good news is we don't need to, mate. We're not race control.
Yeah, that's very true indeed. Marcel Freinzener is going to be the next car to cross the line between those guys and James Harvey. But, yeah, there was maybe a bit too much contact there. I think Mikey really wanted that position in the end. Guillaume didn't want to give it up. But there's Marcel Freinzener crossing the line in 8th position. Just behind in the background there after a bit of a rough race there. James Harvey manages to cross the line in 9th position. Not how he would have wanted tonight to go, but, well, that was a bit of a brawl, that one, to be honest, with the even with the smaller grid. But Aaron Smith there, your race winner, Chris. If, well, I mean, if anyone else could have done it, it probably could have been Sedgwick or even Mills, but that was another amazing performance by Aaron.
It genuinely really was. I mean, I guess the sad thing is that with Sedgwick's performances that we didn't get treated to the fight between the two of them up front. But, you know, it was just incredible to watch him, have to fight his way through after the pit stops to do something, then keeping his cool and going the wrong way up the pit lane. Why not? And he's done an incredible job yet again. I mean, he's just the coolest, calmest, collected driver, including when we interview him. Awesome job. Alex was just phenomenal. That roll of the dice was something special. Connor Mills did well to keep off Brian Krause to hold on to the podium position. Krause desperately trying to come back at him was great. Jason Glenn was brilliant in that second phase after his pit stop. A great fight up through past Mikey Doble and Guillaume Hesno. Guillaume's probably going to be a bit frustrated with that, but we didn't see it close enough to apportion any blame. And as I said, we don't have to.
Yeah, very true, very true. I think we might have just had Jason Glenn. Yeah, Jason Glenn is reversing round the track. I thought I caught him doing it there. He's just on the shot to the left. Jason was deciding to... Let me just see if I can find this.
Well, it's the last road course we've got, isn't it? So why not?
I think Aaron is actually pushing Alex there because he ran out of fuel. He is, because Alex's car definitely wasn't the most noisy machine coming across the line. We're just going to see the moment where Jason Glenn turns the car around and thinks, "Oh, stuff it, I'll run it around." Bob Latham asking, is Yuri Ishmael the winner? Unfortunately not, my friend. He finished in 11th place.
Had a one in it. Had 2 ones in it, so he...
yeah, I suppose so. P1 Sebastian. Let's have a look. I'm wondering when Jason decided to do this, because he's still at quite a good pace here. So if he is going to turn this car around, Alex said he ran out of fuel. Yeah, he ran out of fuel in the last corner. Should hear it shut off on the onboard. So if we had the checkered flag on board with Connor, so here's Alex. We'll shut the music off for a second. Just listen to the noise of this machine. Then on board with Mr. Sedgwick. Ready? Oh, it's struggling there, and he's on the throttle, and it's, yep, oh, there it goes, yep, it's gone, and now it's literally just a soapbox across the line, and still picks up second.
I bet that sounded brilliant.
Oh yeah, it did, but yeah, unfortunately I have to remind everyone Chris can't hear it. So there is your race results, and Aaron Smith taking another amazing win. Alex Sedgwick, to be fair, brilliant recovery to second. Reigning champion Connor Mills rounds out your podium just ahead of Brian Krause. Jason Glenn finishes in 5th, just ahead of Mikey Doble with Guillaume Hesno. Whether that result stays the same, we'll have to see and speak to race control. Marcel Freinzener finishes in 8th, just ahead of James Harvey, and Jonathan Hill was the first car that was a lap down, but still managed to round out the top 10. Yuri Ishmael, another car on a lap down there. George Tolsma, 14. Oh,
Can I just say there will be a position reversal for Mike Doble and Guillaume Hesno for the last minute incident.
okay, there we go. Thank you very much, Chris. Confirmation from Race Control and Chris himself there. So Mikey Doble does finish 7th with Guillaume Hesno in 6th. George Tolson was 14 laps down. Jeff Hooper, unfortunately, despite getting into the race, was 19 laps down. And Jack Mace, after those incidents near the start, did not make it through to the end. Now, we're going to do one of our favourite parts of the evening then, other than the racing. And we're going to have a word with some of these absolute mad lot. And to be honest, who better to start off with than the man of the hour himself, Aaron Smith, joins us in the commentary box. Aaron, I mean, we don't always have a lot of words when someone puts on a performance like that, but that really was another special one for you. You must be delighted.
Oh, absolutely. I was expecting this to be a pretty close race, to be honest with you. I mean, it's Watkins Glen. Everyone knows Watkins Glen if they're into stock cars, NASCAR racing. But things turned out completely different from what I expected, and we were able to take home the win.
And, of course, that important win, putting you one step closer to the championship. I mean, going into the final meeting, you must be very confident now that you've pretty much got one hand on the trophy.
Oh, certainly. I mean, it's good to be ahead of the amateur points, but I want to beat everybody, including the professionals. So we'll make that happen next week.
Yeah, Alex was really quite a surprise for us in that one with his strategy of not pitting. Were you expecting that from him? I mean, did you sort of expect to see him there at the end?
Well, I mean, in the drivers' meeting, he did say that Fuel would only make it 2/3 of the race, and then he goes and makes it last the whole race. So I expect them to be a little bit cheeky in the drivers' meeting, and like relative to the race itself. But it played out pretty well for him. Got P2 out of it. We had a pretty good race at the front as well. And there was a couple of laps I had to catch up to him. But yeah.
Do you feel that it's the livery that's made the difference this season? I must say. I must ask you.
Yeah, I'm not too sure. I mean, I had the yellow on last week when the trading paints wasn't loaded, and I was able to take the win pretty easily. But yeah, I'd say having the sponsors on the car and brand new team added a little bit of momentum.
Brilliant. Well, honestly, very well done today, Aaron. Any words from you as well, Chris?
No, that you summed it all up. It was just amazing to watch and just effortless. You make it look so easy, Aaron. Surely, though, it is harder while you're sat in the rig there, though.
Absolutely. I mean, 90% of it's figuring out the line with these cars, and then the last 10% is making it work and conserving the tires and just making everything go out the way you want it to. And we made it happen today.
Well, it was brilliant to watch as always, Aaron. You go and enjoy your evening, mate. I'm sure you'll be very happy with that one. Before we let you go, though, actually, anybody you want to give a shout out to, mate?
Yeah, I'd like to thank Revolution Satellite Racing for putting the car together, y'all for broadcasting, everyone back at Vertex for making this series happen, and everyone for watching.
Thank you very much, Aaron. Pleasure as always to speak to you, mate. You have yourself a great day.
Alrighty, thank you.
Aaron Smith there, lovely guy.
I've got to say, Chaz, yeah, not only a lovely guy, doesn't it just absolutely make it perfect that we hear that accent and drawl as one of the winners to be interviewed for this, doesn't it? Absolutely perfect, isn't it?
You've summed that up very well, actually. Yeah, I agree, fully agree. And well, someone that will bring in that wishes he had that accent is the guy who finished in second place tonight, Alex Sedgwick. And well, Alex, to be honest, we weren't expecting to see you up there at the end of that. We were expecting a very late pit stop, but splash and dashes don't really work around here when it's a 50-minute pit lane time. How was the car feeling at the end? Because, I mean, we're just seeing you on lap 1 now, where it was out of shape then.
Yeah, I wasn't really expecting to finish it, to be honest. I messed myself, I think, Ollie, by getting an off track, and been sort of struggling, A, to get practice time in this week, and B, with my pedals on my rig are a bit sticky, so I've been, especially in a car like this where, modulation's so important, when I've only got like 10, 30, 50, 70 at full power, it's been a bit difficult. So that's all my excuses out of the way.
I'm impressed, Alex, by the way. That pages 17 and 64
absolutely,
in one fell swoop.
You've got to... if you don't win, you've got to obviously blame something else. It's not my fault. So yeah, I mean, I from lap 3, 4, I was kind of looking at the fuel, and I thought no matter what, I was going to try and pit after everyone and make it up in the last couple laps. But as time went on, I was kind of not cruising, but looking after a little bit of fuel, trying to be as smooth as possible. And it got to about lap 20 or so, and it was very borderline. It was within sort of a lap or so of making it. So from then, I think I had about 10 seconds to Aaron. Aaron, no matter what, was going to get past me. I think by the time he pitted, he was already 10 or so seconds up the road at the start, and then obviously I was on much older tyres, so he did a really good job. But it was like, then it was a race to the finish more than anything, and I was just saving as much as I could. And as you probably saw on the stream, I ran out literally on the last corner, so my very guessed race strategy worked out all right, to be honest, to obviously gain a few more positions.
Yeah, it certainly did, mate. I'll tell you what, there's cutting it fine, and then there's literally just coming out the last corner cutting it fine. So it was a very good guess, like you say, mate, but a good performance all the same for the championship. We're going to move it on to the next interviewee. Is there anybody you would like to give a shout out to? We just see a massive moment up the S's, to be fair.
As ever, everyone who helps put these races on, so you guys in the commentary box, obviously Mike, Adam, Luxim, everyone behind the scenes, everyone for competing. We're getting down to the business end now, so obviously the next race is the last round, which should be exciting. Obviously see who takes away the championship. So obviously thanks to the guys for competing, thanks for everyone watching, and as ever, my little sales pitch after this series finishes in about 2 weeks time, on the 15th and 17th of this month, I believe. We're running a couple races with the 80s Winston Cup cars at Darlington and Daytona, so anyone who's been watching actually wants to get involved with that, head to our website vertex-esports.com and get your entry in, because they should be a bit different, but pretty challenging. Obviously we'll have a combination of the guys in this series and a few newcomers, so come and get involved, and obviously try and win some money.
It's going to be a hell of a lot of fun to watch that as well. I'm sure me and Chris will be up in the box giggling our heads off for that. Really can't wait. Well done again though tonight, Alex. Great to see you as always, and we'll speak to you again very soon.
Cool. Cheers, guys.
Cheers. And to be honest, we've got the other two guys off the podium so far, so why not grab the man himself from the Chrome machine, Connor Mills. Connor, how are we doing?
Yeah, not bad. Could have been better. Could have been worse, I suppose.
Were you expecting a podium after that? I mean, Brian was very feisty at the end there. The gap sort of opened up and closed up quite a lot with you, Per, didn't it?
Yeah. I mean, I'm struggling a lot this season with managing the tyre wear, or keeping them cool. It seems like I don't know if it's where, just for a lack of practice, where the world's sort of picked up again now from lockdown and got more work going on, etc. But yeah, I'm just really struggling to keep the tyres cool and keep them in their working temperature. So it always seems to be a case of after 8 or 9, 10 laps, I'm just vulnerable, and it's just a case of defending, which it was with Brian. Then I pitted early to get some fresh cold tyres on, and then again I knew it was going to come back at me at the end, but luckily enough, just held it off on that last lap.
Yeah, 0.05 of a second in the end was the gap, so you certainly judged that one well, but it looked like the car was quite a handful, and we were saying that it looked like you'd killed the tyres quite early on. When you had them obviously come back to life again, I mean, the gap was huge. I mean, what happened there? Because it didn't seem like there was that much of an amazing outlap, but did you feel like you really nailed it once you came back out?
Yeah, no, the outlap felt, it wasn't the best, but it wasn't the worst. I don't know, because I would have expected the gap to Aaron to have been a lot smaller than what it was. Maybe 1 or 2 seconds I was predicting. I was hoping he'd stay out for another lap, because then that, through my predictions, would have brought me right on his bumper. Yeah, I don't know if there's just something that I'm missing when it comes to coming into the pits and going out of the pits. I'm not sure, but I'm just as confused as you, to be honest, mate.
But the other way round, Connor, was the fact that when you came into the pits and you and Brian were sort of like right together, and then when Brian went in and came out, sort of, I think it was something like 7 seconds behind you, and we were like, how did that happen? Only 1 lap later or anything. Were you surprised that gap was as big as well?
Yeah, no, it was because I was sort of watching the relative the whole time to try and figure out who's pitted, where's Brian, where's Aaron, gaps and everything. And then I saw Brian pop back up, and it was I think it was 7.5 or 8 seconds, something like that. And that's what I mean. I feel like although I got 2 fresh laps of rubber on Aaron, the gap sort of almost stayed the same, but then it extended 8 seconds on Brian. So it just I don't know if there's a bit of something going on the code inside. I'm not too good with computers myself. Aaron could be could be a master coder, and he could be playing about with the settings. I don't know. No, I'm joking. But yeah, I'm clueless. I'm absolutely clueless. But it was good fun.
The other one, Connor, as well, is that we noticed before you came into the pits is that we didn't see what happened, but we suddenly saw a little bit of damage on the front corner of your car that then obviously disappeared after you pit stopped. Yeah. What happened to cause that?
It was going through the S's after the first corner. I don't know what they're actually called, but the second one, the left, I just pushed it too hard in. I got a bit of understeer and tapped. I say tapped, I hit it quite hard. The wall on the outside, where you've got no runoff through there. If you make the slightest mistake and you're so on the edge, especially with the tyres wearing down, you make the slightest mistake or just miss the apex, and where you really need to use the camber through there. If you don't get the turn, the initial turn in spot on, you're off the camber, and then it just understeers because obviously you're carrying the speed in to expect the camber, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It was one of them. I pushed it a bit too hard, didn't quite get close enough to the curves. I didn't have the camber on my side, and it just understeered and
spat you out.
Lightly grazed the wall, but it wasn't too bad. Could have been worse.
The irony was, as you were explaining that on the replay that we got on the screen at the moment, you were just coming through that section, and we saw you just nearly kiss the barrier as you went through there, which goes to show how close you are to it. But as you then say, is that one time it was a bit more. So that explains it.
yeah, exactly. No, they're tough cars to drive. Like I say, and I'm really struggling. My initial pace is there from qualifying. I mean, I messed up my qualifying lap, and I was only 2 tenths off. Going into the last corner, I was 2 tenths up on a 0.6, which was pole. I lit the rears up on the exit, and the first sort of 2-3 laps were there. It just seems after 3, 4, 5, 6 laps, I just can't seem to keep them in that window like everyone else. I think I need to do some private texting with Aaron. We're teammates, so hopefully he'll tell me what the trick is.
Talking about it, sorry Chaz, I'm going to ask another question, is that Chaz was raising the point, obviously you and Aaron both Revolution Satellite Racing, and you were both on the front row, and the question was that was raised to me was whether you guys would be sort of like gentle with each other into that first corner, and I bluntly said nope. But what was the mindset when that start was happening? What did you intend to do with each other?
It's interesting you say that, because I was thinking the exact same thing, and Aaron's always raced me clean, whether he's my teammate or not, so I would always like to race him clean. He opened up the door, so I stuck my nose up the inside, but he got the better run off the first corner. If that would have been, last round of the season, we're tied on points for first, and it's whoever's going to win is coming out on top, then if I'm honest, I would have been a lot more aggressive. Would have used the door of the car a bit more. But like I say, it's not in that situation, and Aaron's always been clean and respectful around me, so I like to show that respect back.
Awesome.
Beautifully said, mate. Beautifully said. Well, it was another great race to watch for us, and obviously more championship points for you. Just before we let you go, though, Connor, anyone you want to give a shout out to, mate?
Just the boys at Satellite Racing, also the boys over at Vertex, Alex, you guys in the commentary box. It's been great. Got one more left now, haven't we? And we can have a little break. I can get my Wednesday evenings back to watch the football now the Premier League's back on.
Oh, what's that?
No, you've got to come back the week after. Don't forget, we got the older stock cars that we're going in first.
If I can't keep these tyres cool, there's no chance in them.
Love it. Well done, Connor. Good to speak to you as always, mate. Have a great evening.
Cool. Cheers, guys. See you later.
Thanks,
and to be honest, one more that I do want to drag in. We haven't actually spoken to him yet this season, and to be honest, with how supportive and everything Student Motorsport are of the championship, James Harvey joins us in the box. James, that didn't really start how you wanted there, and I mean, to be fair, the recovery drive in the end was still a good one, but you must be a bit frustrated with that.
Do you know what, Chaz? I've been frustrated in almost every race I've done this year because there's always been something that's gone wrong, whether it's my fault or someone else's fault. And today I wasn't frustrated because we had such a good drive. It was a really good laugh, and the pace was great all the way through, despite the dramas at the beginning. And so for once I've had a smile on my face all race, even though I think we probably had the pace for top 5 today. And yeah, it definitely wasn't where we wanted to finish, but it was a good race nonetheless.
Yeah, it seems to bring out a lot of fun in these cars, a track like this. I mean, Chris has been using the word undulating all night because of all the elevation changes, and I mean, it's not an easy circuit to drive, but it certainly looks like an enjoyable one. Do you agree?
It can be enjoyable, I'll say that much. I mean, it is difficult. It's difficult to keep the tyres especially, and I got to give a huge shout out to Billy who didn't race tonight. He spotted for me, and he really kept me going on the old keep the tyres, and he was giving me messages all the way through saying, after the first 3 or 4 laps we were matching race pace basically, and just trying to keep the tyres as long as we could, even though we were carrying some damage early on. So yeah, it is fun. It's a really good track when you actually get it hooked up, but it's getting it hooked up, I think, is the hard part in the first instance, and then just keeping your tyres for as long as you can keep them, and hope you don't stick it on the grass somewhere.
What was the main thing you were putting through your head when you wanted to make that comeback drive? What was your primary thought? Because obviously the car wasn't in as great a shape as you'd have hoped with that big smack from Mr. Mace at turn 1. Do you expect to get through as much as you did?
I mean, as I said before, I've been frustrated in almost every race I've done this year, and JP, who owns Student Motorsports, he's been a great supporter this year for me, both from a coaching standpoint and from a sticking his company's name on the side of the car. But every time I end up in a situation like that, I could just picture him in my head telling me to calm down, just look ahead, don't get angry. And as I said, we had the pace, and it's always easy it's always easier to kind of get your head around stuff when you've got the pace and you're not fighting the car. And once you have an incident in turn 1, it's kind of like it's done, it's forgotten, there's nothing you can do about it. And it was just about what can we get out of the race and just enjoy it. And as I said, with Billy helping lead the charge in my ears, it wasn't as bad as it might have ended up.
Well, it's certainly been good to watch you, mate. One more round of the season left. How are you feeling going into that one? Do you think your luck needs to just finally turn that one more time? I mean, I'd love to see it, and I know Chris would as well. It's. I hope so, mate. I keep saying at the beginning of every race, I thought we were going to get it at Daytona. We had a cracking run at Daytona, and we were unfortunate at the end there to miss out with one caution to go. I think Homestead was my first ever oval race ever. Last season, Miami. So yeah, I think we've come on quite a bit with the ovals, and yeah, hopefully we'll be having a more pleasant conversation at the end of the next race. Well, I look forward to it, and I really hope we do, mate. But just before we let you go tonight, James, is there anyone you want to give a shout out to, buddy?
There is indeed. I mean, obviously a great shout out to Student Motorsports. They've been fantastic in supporting both my real racing and my virtual racing. Big thanks to JP there and to Patrick, who seems to be able to turn around a livery within a matter of hours these days when I send him a list of things I want. And obviously the merry-go-round of spotters that I've had this season. Patrick's done quite a bit, and my good friend Andy, Derek, and I said Billy tonight. So thanks to all them as well. And to you guys, of course.
Thank you. Well, yeah, it's been great to watch you so far. I look forward to seeing how you get on in the last race. But for now, James, I'll let you go and enjoy your evening, mate.
Cheers, chaps.
Cheers.
Thanks, mate.
Well, again, we find ourselves at the end of a race evening, Chris. And to be honest, that one was a hell of a lot of fun, and it certainly flew by once again, didn't it?
It was, wasn't it? I mean, it's one of those intriguing ones. There was a few bits where the drivers were spread out a bit more than we're used to, such as the nature of road courses, obviously. But especially with the pit stop thrown in the middle as well, is it just and a couple of different tactics and things like that. It kept it alive somehow throughout with not just the obvious plot, but the subplots going on as well. And I loved every second of it.
Yeah, I mean, I've only seen a handful of races at Watkins in these cars before, but I know that Every time you go here, they are a hell of a laugh to watch as well, because you see them twitching around all over the place, the drivers fighting for grip, trying to keep on to the tyres, and it certainly showed the same. But thank you everybody that has watched this evening. The Vertex Stock Car Cup will of course be back for the final round next week at Homestead, Miami, where it all started in Season 1 just a couple of months ago. I've been Chaz Draycott. Alongside me tonight has been the incredible Chris Dawes, as always, and we will see you in a week's time. Have yourself a brilliant evening.
Just